Okay. So I found myself on a weird rabbit hole, a rabbit trail on the My Anime List forum. And I'll be honest with you, if you want to warp your brain, just go to an anime website's forum and just go start reading random topics. I found a topic here. Is anime a religion? Holy crap. I feel like, yeah, I'm gonna make you guys listen to this. I'm gonna make you guys listen to this. Is anime a religion? So the original poster here posted this back in 2017. So, is anime a religion? Now, I was taught in my Harvard class this week, so we have a Harvard student, presumably. I was taught this week that one guy argued, wait, that the wording is a little weird here. This one guy argued that art is a religion, that we do art for the sake of art. That we do art for the sake of art. Taking this view to its logical conclusion, assuming anime is art, can we not then consider that anime equals religion? Now, most of the comments that followed or the replies were like, nah, brah, anime is not a religion. But you know what? It got me to thinking back about my before time, back in the early days of my anime fandom. I was so, do I want to use the word addicted? Yeah, I'll use addicted. I was so addicted to anime that it practically was a religion. I think I ate and slept and breathed so much anime. Like, it didn't even, I don't think it even mattered what anime it was, as long as it came in that wrapper, right? As long as it came in a wrapper that said anime on the side of it. It didn't matter what flavor it was. It didn't matter what brand it was. Dude, I consumed it. Like, nom, 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 nom. Just, I ate the crap out of it. If anime was a carb, I would have killed myself on it. I consumed so much anime. I mean, come on. I've been doing this for 23 years. Back in the before time, right? Back in the early 2000s, like we're talking 2000, 2001, there was 2 ways for me to get my anime. 2 ways to learn about anime. Blind buying a DVD and hoping that it was good. And I'll be honest with you, chances are I was going to watch it and I was going to like it because, again, it had the anime wrapper on it. Or I was going to see a trailer on a DVD for an anime title. And then I was going to go find that anime. It's like all the, you know what anime trailers actually are? They're the opening, bruh. They were the 1 minute and 20-second opening. 2 minutes if we were lucky. They were the 1 minute and 20 some odd second opening for the anime. Just the creditless opening. So you had no effing clue what the show was about because it was just the opening. The opening credit song. I don't know if they ever did ending songs. They might have. Sometimes you would get like an actual commercial, a TV spot from like Japan. But most of the time those were like bonus features that were on the actual DVD. So when you saw like a trailer, you saw the opening for say a show like, I don't know, Love Hina or something, you were kind of trying to use whatever brain cells you had to fill in the gaps of what this thing was all about and hope that it was good. Love Hina turned out to be pretty good. You know, and I found a lot of anime like that. Just, I watched the opening trailer, and then I would take a gamble. There was one, actually two shows that I picked up based on doing that exact same thing. One of them was The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. I learned about that from another Bandai series that I was collecting on DVD. The trailer was the opening song for The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. And then on one of the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya DVDs was a trailer or TV spot for an upcoming show by the same studio called Lucky Star. Lucked out both times. Fantastic shows. But back in the before time, if it was anime, I consumed it. I think I was hooked. It was absolutely the next best thing to a religion. So yeah, for me personally, I would say if anime was not a religion, it was dangerously close to being one. The only thing that I didn't do was sacrifice something to the anime gods. That was like the only thing that I don't think I did. Hopefully I didn't do. I mean, I lost a lot of sleep staying up in the middle of the night watching anime DVDs on my portable DVD player when I should have been sleeping, getting ready for work for the next day. Yeah. I may have sacrificed some stuff to the anime gods and just not known about it, but I don't consciously recall ever doing that. So, yeah. Anime is a religion. I don't think so. Maybe for some of us, not for me. I'm not getting enough of an argument here that it is or isn't. I'll leave it up to you guys. You can comment down below. So yeah, welcome to the podcast. Hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome. We're going to be talking about anime today. So when I sat down to create this podcast a few weeks ago, I started churning over in my brain what I wanted the podcast to be about. And I've probably attempted the podcast now several times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 billion times. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't stick because I am a solo podcast host. And you got to have a lot of charisma. You got to have a lot of charismatic way of speaking. You got to have something that's going to draw in the listeners and the viewers. In this case, this is going to be sort of a vlog cast, a video podcast. I wanted people to be able to have something to look at while they were listening to it. Or they don't have to look at it at all. They could just listen to it. And in my mind, I wanted a first topic. As it turns out, the first topic was something to do with Thanksgiving. Go listen to that one if you're checking this one out first. The first one is about Thanksgiving and anime. I don't know how I managed to segue those two together, but I did. But in the back of my mind, when I sat down to create this new podcast, it was always because I wanted to talk about the FUNimation Crunchyroll thing. So here we go. I didn't want to make a video talking about it because I already made a couple of videos talking about the Crunchyroll FUNimation merger. I had covered this back when it was happening. Then I talked about the Crunchyroll lack of uncensored anime. And then I talked about, most recently, back in July, I think it was, I talked about why is FUNimation still a thing? And surprisingly, that video got a lot of views. Now, I'm a small content creator, so when a video gets triple digits, I get excited. When a video gets quadruple digits, I throw an effing party. And there could be booze involved. So you can only imagine. But yeah, it struck a lot of, or sparked, I should say, a lot of conversation. A lot of conversation. And much of the conversation was still pro-Funimation and anti-Crunchyroll. There were a lot of people who said the same thing, that they still had their subscription to Funimation, even though the merger has been over with for a year. It's not finished yet, apparently. But that they're going to hang on to their subscription until Funimation literally closes its door. That they would rather do that than go to Crunchyroll. And there are a lot of people who have voiced concerns about Crunchyroll, saying that they would just rather go and find their anime through alternative means. And we know what that means. That means piracy, matey. So I wanted to do a follow-up to that video, but I didn't want to do it in like a 10-minute video, and I didn't want to do it for the sake of trying to cash in or ride the success of the other video, which is probably what's going to happen anyway if this podcast episode gets any sort of traction. I don't know that it is, but there was a lot that I wanted to say. There was a lot that I wanted to address that wasn't going to be in, that could be contained in a relatively short video. That video was less than 7 minutes long. And it was mostly just me going, hey, look, Funimation's still a thing. Dur. Haha. Why? Speculate down below. That was the gist of it. But lately, I wanted to talk about the other side of the merger. So we talked about Funimation. Now I want to talk about Crunchyroll. So it's Black Friday. I'm on the Crunchyroll website, and I got a notification. In my notifications is Black Friday deals are here. Get up to 50% off the Crunchyroll store. And somehow I keep forgetting that Crunchyroll now is the place to go for buying anime. It used to be Right Stuff. My God, for as long as I've been an anime fan, I think Right Stuff has existed. I don't even know when Right Stuff became a thing, but I know that there was only 3 places that I would go to get anime. Robert's Anime Corner Store, Amazon, and Right Stuff. Now, I would order through Sentai, but I think that they were fulfilled through Right Stuff. I'm not positive. I think their shipments were fulfilled through Right Stuff. But nevertheless, those were my 3 go-to places. Now it's Amazon, Robert's Anime Corner Store, and Crunchyroll. So, if you've been living under a rock, here's what's happened. Sony is determined to gobble up the universe of pop culture. They just are. They bought Funimation, they bought Crunchyroll, they saw no reason to have 2 separate streaming services. They made an announcement over a year ago that they were going to merge the 2 streaming services together into this glorious, absolutely funktastic website. One website to rule them all. And it just hasn't sort of happened yet. It's been a year later, and we're still waiting for some titles to finally make it from Funimation over to Crunchyroll. I don't know what the deal is. I'm sure a lot of it is held up in licensing. Look, if you want to know one of the biggest problems with distribution of an imported thing is going to be licensing. That and effing music. 90% of the problems that things have is going to probably be due to licensing. So I'm sure at the end of the day, somewhere, this is a licensing issue and not that Sony is just trying to make as much money off of the fans as humanly possible by having two websites up and running at the same time. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. That's a speculation. I'll let you figure that one out. But when it comes to Crunchyroll, I have to ask the question, how is Crunchyroll a thing? How did we get here? Because before the merger, fans were not happy with Crunchyroll. And I'm going to cover this. Oh, dear God, I feel like I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to cover this one more time just for the sake of completion and being thorough. One of the biggest arguments about Crunchyroll was the fact that Crunchyroll only ever gave the fans censored anime. And here's the deal, my guys. Listen close. Please listen close. Anime only exists in two versions. A broadcast version and a home video version. And I know it's hard to wrap your brains around this, but network television rarely airs uncensored anime. A premium television network will do it in Japan, but it's broadcast. That means people of all ages have access to it. Little kids have access to it. So home video versions, and probably due to licensing, home video versions are very rarely going to be streamed on broadcast. It's how it works. It's how it's always worked. TV version is always going to be edited. The home video version, the Blu-ray, is probably not going to be edited. And back in the day, we'll say 2009, back when I think that's when I originally, I think that was when I first joined up with the FUNimation forums way back in the day. I'm not sure. I joined up with one of the forums talking about FUNimation. It was a thing back then. FUNimation had a motto that they stuck to, where they would release anime uncensored or unedited. And back in the day, unedited meant something different than give me the boobies. Unedited meant they were going to show you the anime in its original Japanese version, because so many anime would come to North America through a different means, like One Piece or Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura. Let me see. I think there were others. Shaman King, I think, might have been one. There was several anime that would come to North America through different distributing companies, and they would get the hatchet job. They would get trimmed. They would get cut down. They would be changed contextually. Things would happen to the show to make it more palatable for certain audiences that the distributor felt that it was intended for. That's not to say American audiences, because by and large, American audiences wanted the uncensored anime. It was the companies, okay? They thought they knew what their fans wanted. Well, what the fans wanted was the uncensored stuff. So you ended up with companies like ADVision, FUNimation, coming out with DVDs of anime that would say original uncut version. And that was Funimation's motto. And they sort of stuck to that. But Crunchyroll has always been a broadcast streaming service. The anime that they acquire from Japan has pretty much always been the broadcast version. Occasionally, there'll be like an uncut version that makes its way to Crunchyroll. But I think by and large, it's always been uncut or censored. Not the uncut version, I mean. So when the Funimation and Crunchyroll merger happened, we expected all of the uncut Blu-ray versions to make their way to Crunchyroll, and it didn't happen. So all of the fans that have been screaming about Crunchyroll only having censored anime screamed even louder when the merger happened and there was no change. And I'll admit, it baffled me too, because here you have a premium subscription service offering a sub-premium experience. This was supposed to be the anime streaming site to rule them all, right? This was the one ring of power. This was going to be the go-to, the world's largest anime streaming platform. And by God, if we wanted to see the anime titties, we were going to pay to see the anime titties, and they weren't there. Some shows, yes. And I kept a track of the new shows that were coming over. That's why I made that video. Crunchyroll is still censored. Lamau, or whatever it was called. And still, a year later, we're still waiting. So we speculated that maybe Crunchyroll was just going to do the broadcast versions and they were going to release the home video versions on Blu-ray, which I think is what they're doing, which is fine, I guess. If you're fine paying a premium service and getting a sub-premium experience. But the fans are still angry. I'm reading through that. I'm reading through the comments on that. Why is Funimation still a thing? And I'm going to tell you what, it's the same argument. Like, we had this merger, right? How is Crunchyroll a thing? Is my question. Because how do you make this merger? How do you create the largest streaming platform and you don't make significant improvements? Look, I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm not here to just crap on Crunchyroll. I've legit got some concerns and I've got some gripes. I still pay my subscription service because I don't like ads. And at the end of the day, I do believe that somehow this still supports the anime industry. And I'm all about that. If you're not into supporting Crunchyroll, I get it. I respect your decision. If you want to go get your anime through alternative means, I respect your decision. But at the end of the day, Crunchyroll needed to do three things. They needed to make a product that was going to entice the fans. They just basically laid down like this blanket statement. The websites are merging. You got to change now. So I did. I canceled my Funimation membership. I went all in on Crunchyroll, expecting the best, and got zilch. I got nothing. The website is terrible. I keep hearing that a lot. The website has always been terrible. I remember when Crunchyroll's player was still back on old HTML, right? Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember that? When you guys are around back when you would have to use like an add-on or something for your browser in order to play Crunchyroll videos with an HTML5 browser. I think there was a special add-on that you could use that would do that because they just were so damn lazy about upgrading their website. People were begging and begging for a video player upgrade. And then they finally announced HTML5 like 20 years after HTML5 came out. And they're like, hey guys, we're finally getting into the future of the webs, the interwebs. And it's like, really? Really? You're excited about this? This is what has you excited? Crunchyroll has always been dropping the ball, guys. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. But if Sony wanted to make Crunchyroll the best shining beacon of anime that it could have possibly been, first of all, they should have merged all of the anime from Funimation. They should have gone after the uncensored home video versions, and they should have made it worth the while of everyone who has a subscription with Funimation. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. If I'm going to pay to watch anime boobies, right? If I'm going to pay Funimation for anime boobies, why would I pay Crunchyroll for anime blurbies? Blurbies? Get it? Get it? Blurbies? Because the boobies are blurred? Come on, it's funny. I'm not going to pay to watch a downgraded version of an anime I could watch a better version of on Funimation. So the first thing that Sony didn't do was ensure an enticing reason for everyone to cancel their Funimation subscription and take the plunge and go to Crunchyroll. Second thing that they didn't do was update their website into something that actually worked. I'm looking at the Crunchyroll website right now. My guys, this thing is horrendous. Okay? The banner, the thing that kind of goes from left to right, you know, takes up 90% of the screen. 90% of the screen. That little automated banner that goes by showing the different anime titles that's currently playing. All right? And then you scroll down and you've got these giant thumbnails. Everything is sort of out of order. Continue watching. Well, some of this stuff is not something that I was watching even recently. Some of this stuff is stuff I watched a long time ago. This is all kind of messed up. Now we have an ad for the Crunchyroll store. Top picks for me. My watch list. New episodes released today. And then my favorite. Curated episodes. Working for the weekend. I kid you not. It's a list of working-esque anime. Followed by Crunchyroll news. That just seems out of place. With a bunch of articles. Then followed by the Crunchyroll Game Vault ad. Followed by most popular. The most popular is almost at the end of the page. Followed by, I don't know what. Followed by another curated list called the original light novel's name was way too long, so the English title had to be changed in order to somewhat fit the character limit. Yeah, haha, very funny. Followed by just updated on Crunchyroll. More curated. Music videos now on Crunchyroll. And then because I watched Handyman Saito in Another World, here's a curated list of isekai. Thank you. And then more curated. And then at the very bottom, we have new to anime ? Start here. Oh, but that's not it. There's more curated titles. Battles of the Bands. And then we finally reach the end. This is the most jank way of navigating a website. Here's my question. Is there a way to browse all titles? Is there a way to do that? Alphabetical. Let's do that. Browse all anime. It's done in list format with small thumbnails. And it's got the alphabet at the very top. It's just, I don't know why, but again, it's just it sort of hurts to try to navigate the Crunchyroll website. Everything about it just seems awkward. It doesn't seem functional. I mean, I miss the old Crunchyroll forum or Crunchyroll website. Do you guys remember about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the Crunchyroll website? They had like the Naruto Shippuden. There was somebody had one of the webmasters or somebody who was updating the website had typed in one of the episodes or two of the episodes of Naruto Shippuden, right? Naruto Shippuden like 200 or something. And they didn't have a link. It was just the title, episode whatever. It's like two of them on the bottom right, I think. And they stayed there. They were like stuck there, like permanently burned into the website. You couldn't do anything. It's like they couldn't do anything about it. It was so funny. I missed that. I missed that website. That website was much easier to navigate than this modern bullcrap. So, second thing that Sony should have done was they should have fixed the website. Now, maybe this is user-friendly to some people, but I don't find it very user-friendly. It takes me too long to find what I'm looking for. And most of the time, what I'm looking for is isekai, because I'm an isekai guy. I'm a self-proclaimed isekai expert. And when I get a hankering, when I get a hankering for a hunka isekai, I want to go to the website and I want to go right to it. I want to go to the genre, right? Browse, go to genre, and go isekai. Now, there is an argument to be made that isekai is not a genre. I will admit that. But I think at this point, we're just arguing semantics. I think it needs its own category at the very least. Maybe not a genre, but it needs a category. I want to be able to go to an isekai category, click the button, and then see all the isekai. Instead, what I have to do is I have to go to the browse button, and I have to go to the simulcast season, and I have to look at the season. And I scroll through each season and I see, okay, which one looks like an isekai? I look at the little synopsis here, and then if it looks like an isekai, and it sort of smells like an isekai, I will put a little, I'll favorite it, right? Put it on a watch list, and then I'll come back to it. And that's how I have to find my isekai. I have to scour through the simulcast seasons, the whole season. And of course, in there somewhere, I'll also find other shows that might look interesting. But more often than not, I go to Crunchyroll with a specific genre and or category of anime in mind, and I want that category, right? And they make it really hard for me to find sometimes. They really do. They really do. This is not user-friendly. This is user-unfriendly. The third thing that Sony should have done when they took over Crunchyroll, the third thing that they should have done was they should have offered an incentive. Okay? They should have treated Crunchyroll as if they were starting it from the ground up. All right. High Dive. When High Dive became a thing, I got in on High Dive in the first 2 months that it came out. Right? And since then, High Dive has increased their monthly subscription a little bit, but not mine. Not mine. Because I am grandfathered in. My price should never change. I say should because it's not guaranteed. But my price is very cheap. Very, very cheap. I think Crunchyroll should have done the same thing. Sony should have dropped the price for entry-level subscriptions. And I don't even think there should have been an entry level. It should have just been one subscription to rule them all. But I'll talk about that later. They should have dropped the price for their subscription services, and they should have kept them that way for about a year. And then after that first year, they could have increased their subscription services, the price of their subscription for everyone new. And then everyone that came in during that year, and everyone who was already a subscription user would have had their month for Crunchyroll. And Sony comes in and they take over. They drop the price down to like $4.99, $3.99. And it's like that for the first year that they're in charge. And everybody's like, oh yeah, hot damn, I'm getting Crunchyroll for $4 a month. Frick yes. And then after that first year, they could increase the price for all new subscribers. But everyone who had already subscribed and all the old subscribers are locked into that old price. Give them a little bit of an incentive to stick around. Here's the thing. You're not going to cancel that sweet deal. I will never cancel my High Dive subscription because I know that I'll lose that savings if I do. Right? So if they had done something like that with the Crunchyroll subscribers, man, these guys would never cancel their subscription, no matter how bad things got. Hopefully not. But I'm just going to say, those are the 3 things that Sony should have done when they took over. And this Right Stuff fiasco, why did they have to move it to Crunchyroll? I saw no reason for this. Companies have subsidiaries all the time. Putting all of this in one roof is abysmal. It's asking for heartache. And here's the thing, it's not even really under one roof. Because when I click the store, it takes me to a completely different website anyway. It takes me to store.crunchyroll.com. It doesn't take me to just another tab. Now, I don't know if this is somehow linked or what, but just looking at this is abysmal. Like, I tried scrolling through the Crunchyroll store immediately after the Right Stuff merger, whatever you want to call it. Horrible, pitiful, disgusting. I am disgusted every time I look at this. There's a few anime that I'm going to have to buy from here, but I just don't want to. I don't know what kind of experience I'm going to get from this, because I know as a consumer what kind of experience that I've already gotten out of Crunchyroll. How Crunchyroll is a thing is baffling to me, because Sony did everything wrong when it came to this merger, when it came to acquiring anime. It's like they did everything wrong, and it's like they did it wrong on purpose. I don't know who is behind the wheel of that company, but they need to be taken out of the driver's seat. Somebody else needs to strap in, put that thing into something other than first gear, take the effing training wheels off, and do right. Because the fans are still unsatisfied. Again, I'm not just crapping on Crunchyroll here, guys. I'm not. I'm really not. Every comment is something either pro Funimation or anti Crunchyroll on that video that I made. You know, people are still subscribed. Here's what. This is 3 months ago. I still use Funimation just because I prefer its player and how I can sort anime. Amen. Sorting anime on Funimation, little bit better. I think Funimation had the ability to actually look at all the anime in giant thumbnail form. Let me see. I still have my Funimation subscription. I'm holding on to it until I log in and it says Crunchyroll. I still have my Funimation subscription. I'm still getting charged for it, but it's okay. It's for my sister to use. Let me see. I tried to use Funimation on my PlayStation 5 and it won't let me use Funimation, and it only says time to move to Crunchyroll, but I can't still use Funimation. I can still use Funimation on my phone. There's conflicting things that are going on with Funimation. The website is still up. Apparently the app on the PlayStation 5 is janky. Here's an interesting comment. I can't tell if you're an 80-year-old man or if you're a woman with a voice changer. I feel like an 80-year-old man sometimes. Look, I'm just a dude that likes Catgirls, right? Look, I'm a hideously deformed, horribly ugly mutant of an anime fan, and I figure people would much rather look at a Catgirl than look at my terrible mug. All right, it's as simple as that, right? People would much rather look at something cute. So there you go. Enjoy the Catgirl while you've got it, my guy. Somebody said, I don't like the Funimation and Crunchyroll merge. And can't believe it. Somebody actually said, when was there a merge? Wow. It's a very awkward thing. Still having both websites up, I think. Sony should have done, should have done there's so much that they should have done. By and large, the same sentiment that the fans had 8 years ago is still the same sentiment that the Crunchyroll fans, and I don't even want to say Crunchyroll fans, Crunchyroll users have now. And I feel like anime has sort of taken a big, huge step back, right? You remember back in early 2000s when I said that there was like only a few ways to get anime, right? How I got anime. I got anime from watching or recommended anime, but there was that other way to get anime, you know, through the alternative means. And there's a lot of fans that have made that sentiment that they would rather get their anime pirated than pay a subscription to the world's largest provider of anime. What does that say? How do you... I mean, I'm shocked. I'm shocked. This is what happens when you have a premium subscription service and you get a sub-premium experience. Just as simple as that. I can't condone Crunchyroll. I just can't. But like I said, I have my subscription because at the end of the day, I want to do my part to support the anime industry. I support the anime industry, not Crunchyroll. Certainly not Sony. But I respect other people's decision for not wanting to. But here's the problem, guys. Okay? Here's the problem. Change is not going to happen at all. And I will tell you why. Let me take a drink here of my coffee. All right, I'm going to hit you with some hard wisdom. I'm going to hit you with some hard truth here. As a consumer, you have one option when it comes to changing how a product maker, product provider does business, how a company does business. And that is through the wallet. But herein lies the problem. Supply and demand, right? Okay. So let's look at, we want Crunchyroll to change. So the way to do that is hit them with their wallet. So everybody's going to suddenly unsubscribe. Perfect. Sounds great. But that's a problem. Okay? Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Let's take Overwatch 2, for example. Remember Overwatch 2? Does anybody still play that? I would love to know who still plays Overwatch 2. Let me know in the comments. Who plays Overwatch 2? Okay, so Overwatch 2. Overwatch 1 sort of started dwindling, drying up. But we knew that Blizzard was working on Overwatch 2, so it wasn't the end of the world. A lot of promises were made. Overwatch 2 comes out. It's dog. Just absolutely, it's just the acid of a bad gaming experience. I wanted to like it. I tried to like it. I forced myself to play it. Just didn't work out. The more I played, the more I saw how terrible it was. Okay. So, it's free to play game. And then they announced that we were waiting on PvE, right? One of the biggest selling points of Overwatch 2 was a PvE experience. We were finally going to have something like a campaign, a PvE experience. But they said, oh no, PvE experience isn't polished yet. It's going to be released later. And they lied. They lied to us. Shortly before we were supposed to get this PvE experience, they come out with an announcement that says, sorry, PvE has been canceled. Instead, we're going to piecemeal it to you in the form of these little playable scenarios that you're going to pay for. Wow. So everyone said, we're done. You should stop playing Overwatch right now. Done. Uninstall this thing. Get rid of it. Patooey. Pah. Garbage. It's gross. I'm disgusted. And you know what the fans did? Let me tell you what the fans did. The fans said, why? Why should I stop playing this game? I'm having, wait for it, fun. I like this game. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean I have to hate it. And I knew right away that none of the grievances we had were going to be rectified. Because as long as one person spent a dime on the Battle Pass, the horribly monetized Battle Pass, as long as the fans didn't unify and cast this demon back to hell, Overwatch 2, in its horrible state, in its horribly monetized, piss poor, horribly written state, was going to thrive. And it has. And that is why Crunchyroll will continue exactly the way that it is right now. And no changes will probably be made. Because for every fan that says, I am going to unsubscribe from Crunchyroll, the only way we're going to actually make that happen, actually make Sony implement positive change, is if everyone gets behind the boycott. And boycotts on the internet never work. They've never worked. Because as long as there are fans that absolutely have to watch the next episode of whatever their favorite show is, we lose. Because there's going to be a fan out there that's like, why? Why do I need to cancel my subscription? I like how things are. Or they absolutely have to watch the next episode of One Piece. That's going to be the thing. So either everyone is on board with a boycott and they all unsubscribe at the same time simultaneously for maximum effective impact. Sony as a company is never going to change their policies. I mean, maybe if enough people unsubscribed, but I just don't see that happening. Statistically speaking, if we can't get a game like Overwatch 2 to have significant changes, and I'm sure there are less people playing Overwatch 2 than there are people subscribed to Crunchyroll. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Wait a minute. I don't know. I don't, what am I saying? I would imagine there are less people subscribed to the Battle Pass in Overwatch 2 than there are people subscribed to Crunchyroll. But if they can't make Blizzard make changes to Overwatch 2 by uninstalling and not playing the game anymore, and I mean, there were YouTube content creators whose careers were built around Overwatch 2 commentary that were throwing up their hands going, I give up. I can't justify this anymore. And I get it. I'm almost there with the anime industry. I can't justify 90% of what I see going on in the streaming biome. It's just abysmal. Anime is we're getting all of the anime. Anime is finally mainstream, but it's just in an abysmal state right now. But unless we can get everyone on board, I don't really think that we're going to have any actual effective change. So what are we going to do? Well, we can hope that Sony internally shifts around some people, some upper tier management that finally starts taking the fans into consideration, because right now I really don't know that Sony has anime fans' best interests at heart. I know that we are getting some decent Blu-ray. I know that we are getting all the anime. And I think for a lot of us, it's the best that we can do. I'm not going to tell anyone to make do. If you have a standard by which you want to watch your anime, God bless you. More power to you. You are the reason why the anime industry is where it's at, because you have a standard. But there are going to be a lot of us that are going to just take it like it is, because this is the best that we've got. This is the best that we can do. At least we're getting the anime. And that's a terrible place to be. I don't want to be that guy who watches anime on Crunchyroll because, well, what's the alternative? I think that there should be alternatives. I think that there should be more places that offer anime to watch. I'm not going to say that Crunchyroll is a monopoly, but it's pretty dang close. So at the end of the day, it could be worse, but it could definitely be better. I mean, I don't know how Crunchyroll is a thing, because it shouldn't be. The fans should have revolted a long time ago. The website should have imploded under its own weight. Sony should have just sold it off to some third party and been done with it, because honestly, I feel like Crunchyroll is going to be more of a headache than it's going to be a benefit to them. But I think they spent a lot of money on this, and they're going to do everything they can to get as much out of it as they can before they move on to the next big thing. So there it is. I would love to get your take on Crunchyroll. Where do you stand? I mean, I know based on the comments of that Funimation video, there's a lot of negativity on Crunchyroll. I would love to hear some positives if you've got any, but definitely let me know. If you're one of the few, I don't want to say few, because there's got to be more than a few. If you're one of the viewers that returns to Crunchyroll to watch your anime, I would love to know what brings you back to Crunchyroll. Is it the fact that it's the only place to get your anime? Is it the fact that it's convenient? What would it take to get you to drop Crunchyroll? What would it take, do you suppose, to get change from Sony? And ultimately, is this just a Sony problem, or is this just a Crunchyroll problem that Sony inherited? I'd love to get your take on that too. But I think I've ranted on enough. Anime is not a religion. I think we pretty much established that. But if I talk about it too much more, it's probably gonna be. But I wanted to put this to bed. I wanted to finally address the FUNimation thing, the Crunchyroll thing. I wanted to just sort of talk about it in a way that wasn't limited by a short video. And I think that I've said everything that I want to say about it, at least for now. As a fan, I'm not happy with Crunchyroll. I don't think that I ever will be. I was not in a good place with FUNimation when the merger happened. So for me, it didn't sting near as bad. I get it. And I respect people who still want the old FUNimation website to still be there. There was a lot of positives, but for me, there were more negatives. I think Crunchyroll could do better. I think Sony could do better, and I would like to see that happen. I mean, my God, 20 years ago, it was a wish fulfillment that anime would be as mainstream as it is. And now that it's here, I feel like we're in the same boat that we were 20 years ago, where you either watched anime through a shady company that you didn't really trust, or you had to get it pirated. How did we get here? How did we get so advanced with anime being mainstream? How did we get a live-action Cowboy Bebop, a live-action One Piece, but the fans are still split on where to get their anime? I don't know. Comment in the comment section down below, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, I just want to say thank you for listening to this podcast. If you want to see more, subscribe. There will be podcasts that I'm going to be making for the Patreon patrons. The plan is to do one a week, but if I can't, I'm going to do no less than 2 a month. We'll start off seeing if we can do one a week. So if you want an exclusive access to an exclusive Patreon members only podcast episode, become a member of the Patreon to help support the channel. In the meantime, if you want to support my gaming, you can do so by becoming a member of the channel, by subscribing and checking out my live streams. We're trying to get the channel to 2,000. I think, is it 2,000? Maybe it's 1,200. I don't remember. We're trying to get the channel monetized. I've got all of the subscribers now. I just need to get the watch time. So maybe the podcasts will help in that regard. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you enjoyed this Neko BB Cafe podcast thing that we got going on. And if you've got any suggestions for some future discussions, whether they're anime related, gaming related, pop culture related, you can hit me up. You can find me over on Twitter. You can find me in the comment sections here on YouTube. And you can also find me in the Discord. There should be a link in the linkity link down below for that. If not, just hit me up at one of my live streams and we can get some Discord links sent out. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching and or listening. My name is Gruzbee, and the Catgirl is FUNimation, and this is the Neko BB Cafe podcast. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I will see you here in the next episode.